Okay, so we reopen from our recess just before noontime to try and figure out how we can balance our 2021 Coos County budget. There we go, that's better. So Megan is working furiously while.
Yeah, but I missed one, so stall for a minute.
Okay, stall. So,
Time for your chapter.
I got to thinking over the lunch hour, I know that Parks is gonna suffer a hit for their income, but were there other areas in their Parks budget that might be utilized, putting it nicely? If anybody's thought about that, because normally we get substantial money from the Parks Department.
Yeah, I think John was offering us more from solid waste rather than parks to play some catch up.
Yeah,
at
but
parks that we badly need.
I'm looking for every little nickel I can find.
There's 389 in capital outlay, major repair and improvements of parks. Some of that's, I think,
That new,
matching grant
the
money.
expansion one.
But could we, I mean, it's got playgrounds and fire pits and kayak launches, and could some of that be prioritized and we save part of that?
You would think so. I
That's a
think
grant.
kayak's a grant though, from Marine Board. But some of it might be able to be, where they could phase it in over 2 years instead of billing all in 1 year.
If I can switch gears or make a
Yeah,
suggestion.
sure.
The roof on the pit,
Yes? Million two?
could it be split, the contract be written so the payments are over 2 budget cycles?
I don't know why not.
Haven't we
Do
already
what?
awarded the contract on that?
No? I don't think so.
No, it's just.
No,
Oh,
it's going out to bid.
That's a thought,
We
anyway.
could. That's a million two divided by 2?
We might have to bump it up the second year a little bit for whatever, depending on construction timelines and material pricing.
That would be 600,000, then we'd only be 400 short.
And I penciled in, we could find 100,000 in parks.
Okay. So we only
That-
be 300 short.
And then if we don't fill those 4 positions that are empty, that's another 300.
And which four are those?
Hold on.
Oh,
we're
wait a
waiting
minute.
on, yeah, we're
Megan's
not quite
coming
to having
online
that.
finally here.
Megan's catching up. She had too many Oreos.
One is too many. We do some, okay, so there is 6 vacant positions, 1 in the assessor, 1 in juvenile, 1 in the jail, 1 in the DA. There's the emergency manager in the sheriff's department and 1 in IT. The total is $533,290, except I think the emergency manager has revenue tied to it, because we get grant money for that.
Uh-huh.
Do they pay for his salary or no?
They said I could put mine in place.
And I have something I need to talk about. I talked with the sheriff and I talked to Captain Fabrizio. He is currently filling in for the emergency services manager.
Mm-hmm.
He would be willing to take over the emergency services directorship as well as his captain duties for a small stipend per month, and we'd save about $81,000 a year there.
Not for free?
Not for free, no. I told him I wouldn't ask that. Something like. Yeah, 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 but 500 a month would be 6,000 off of the 87,000 in total cost for the emergency services director, so we saved 81,000 and change roughly. that's acceptable to the rest of the committee, and I've already talked to Gabe, and he said that would be acceptable.
Like that idea.
Do stipends have a direct correlation to PERS? Or are they outside of that?
They're within,
I think they're counted
part
as
of PERS,
salary
yes.
for the purposes of
So
calculating.
PERS may go up a
a
small
slight,
amount.
yeah, but,
So how much was the stipend?
it's $500 a month without the raise in, the slight raise in PERS, it would be
And
81,583 savings, so 81 something.
okay, hold on.
It'd be an extra 6,000 a year.
And what we should do is ask, on the solid waste proposal, if we are serious about that, we should ask John about, how much the materials would be. Perhaps buy the materials this year and build it next. I mean, once you take that thing down, you've got to get it down and back up.
We're building it, or there's engineering involved too?
We've already paid for a lot of engineering.
So he's talking about buying the materials for this coming budget year and building it the following budget year, actually doing the labor part.
Understand.
I don't think we can divide the actual construction into 2 years.
Can we store that material in the forestry building that's out there?
I hope the materials
'Cause that's,
weather resistant enough that we can just store it outside, for Christ's sake. That's where it's going to be for the next 100 years.
yeah. But the forestry building's a big building where they keep their nursery seedlings.
Yeah.
So we keep it out of weather and keep some people from running off bits and pieces, I assume.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good-sized building. There'll still be room left over, it looks like, for seedlings. Could you ask John that and see what the number is?
Yeah, I will.
That'd be great.
I wouldn't think it's I wouldn't think it's 600 in materials.
I don't know.
Hang on here. I'm going to have to leave for a minute.
Okay. Megan's working on something anyway, so.
Bob,
Yes, sir? Neil?
before lunch, we discussed basically the carryover fund from solid waste. I believe it was $700,000.
Correct?
That'll basically be one-time dollars to fill the hole in the budget. This year, it won't be something that I guess next year we'll be able to do.
I don't know how fast they accrue that amount. Something I don't know.
This past year, didn't they have 2 major demolition projects that all funneled through the county dump? Eastside School and the hospital? All that tonnage?
I didn't think either of them ended up
No,
going
Eastside
through.
didn't go.
Oh, neither of them did?
No,
No. And they didn't get the Harding building.
no. You didn't
Contract
get
with
the one at Marshfield either.
I'm back.
Okay. John,
Yeah.
Neil asked a question on the one-time 700,000 that solid waste has.
Right.
Has that been built up over the years, or is that an accruement every year? Or partial?
Everything's been built up over the years. They've been saving for stuff.
Okay.
I guess my concern, John, was basically it's filling a hole in the budget with one-time dollars again.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, just so long as everybody's aware.
All right.
You're absolutely right.
So the loaded number for Gabe to have a stipend would be $8,748. Say that again. 8748.
Subtracted from 87,583,
Correct.
which gives us a net of what savings?
Can't do that in your head.
Close, but not exact like you want.
78,000, 79,000.
78,835.
Well, that's a big help. And besides the
Uh,
533 for the empty positions?
That included that position, so
Oh,
you would subtract 8748 from that.
okay. So we're
We're
at
about 77.
524 something, 52?
524, 542.
Yeah, close. And commissioner numbers, that's good.
You know, I worry about taking the IT position. I mean, there's little backup there. That means that the manager works, he doesn't manage and work.
I agree, and every time that our IT system goes down, we're reminded of how dependent the county is on that and how little work
Yeah.
gets done.
The whole county comes to a screeching halt almost.
Yeah,
as
I
far-
would take that one out if it were just my vote.
So you want to add
Me
that
too.
one back in
I do.
temporarily at least?
Hold on.
Megan's
I'm
adding
gonna
back
run
in
out of paper
temporarily.
here pretty soon. 436021.
Just some thoughts on the solid waste and the fence for 150. I don't know if that can be phased in and added, part of that added back in. 'Cause I know they spoke to problems with theft and break-ins out there. If there's gonna be logging and more exposure.
Mhm.
Actually, John did say that about maybe just don't have to fence. Rest later.
We, how much is the fence?
They have
150.
150.
150.
I thought we took it all out.
We did, but all I'm saying is maybe we should think about, instead of pulling all of their operating contingency and all of the fence money out, we should,
But
just a thought.
being all logged off, you can see
We could just
that
plant
whole area.
blackberries.
It would tend
They
to
make
keep
a
more
great
people out.
Do you really even have to?
I think John would rather keep the
We've
park
applied them,
capital
imagine.
project than that.
Yeah, okay.
Would it be worth considering not putting 100,000 on the aggregate cap for the next one?
No. No. It's not worth it. Because then it touches my contingency,
Well, this
and
last
I will
month
fight
was-
for it.
Oh, we have sacred things now.
This last month, the bill was
500,
100,000.
yeah, well, and that's just due to COVID-19, so when that's over,
500.
We could put it in there for temporary.
What if we put it in half?
Just, if you could explain that to us lay people.
okay, so if we take the 100,000 that we put in the jail's budget for over cap medical expenses, every time they go over cap, they have to go before the board and ask for money, and that comes out of operating contingency, which is essentially the money that we use to get us through until property
February,
taxes
or,
come
November.
in October and November.
I think the problem is, it's not like we're really saving that money, we're just saying, let's not budget for it. You know,
Right.
so it's still gonna be an expenditure.
Yeah, and so it will still eat into the operating contingency, which will then eat into my beginning balance, which will make the problem even worse next year.
It's gonna be bad anyway.
Yeah,
When we did the vehicle, we didn't do the second set of leases. But that 100,000 got put in the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
yes,
Can we cut that in half?
since aren't you getting one, the 54,000, isn't that for a vehicle?
Yes, that's for that.
Forestry, timber.
We'll talk about the 100,000.
But bring that down to 50?
Yeah. That helps.
It's 50 grand,
Yeah,
of course it'll help.
always helps.
And do you have the lease payment in there as 70 or as,
That'd be 104 though, rather than
It's 100.
104, not 94, 104.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your social distancing there, kids?
We spend a lot of time together in offices anyway, so.
Okay, so. The vehicles that we got from Enterprise, it was 2 trucks and 2 Interceptor Explorers, right? And we got one of each so far. So it's safe to say that the other 2 are gonna be just like, there's nothing extra that's a large amount of money that's on one that we haven't gotten yet.
Not that we're aware of.
Okay. So we can bump the vehicle lease amount. I would be comfortable with like 75,000 instead of 100.
Okay.
And then,
That's net savings at 25 or what?
yes,
The sheriff was saying half. Oh.
They'll give you 50,000 back out of solid waste that they were gonna put into, a fund to help abate, you know, bad homes and problems like that. John,
Yep, okay.
if you leave parks alone. What's wrong with
Whoa.
you guys? I come up with all these savings, and then you take those and more too. So son of a gun, someone else has got to dip into their budget.
We will.
that's what we're doing. Okay,
So
so,
Megan, can you give a quick summary
no,
of the changes that we've made since we came back from lunch?
So John has offered that 50,000 also. You've got
Okay.
that part, right?
hold on,
Okay, we'll wait.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
We can think lots faster than fingers can move.
Okay, so, just to be clear, we're cutting 50,000 out of regular vehicles that was 100,000. And then we're dropping the lease payments to 75 from 100, so there's
125.
75,000.
50,000. They reduced, they went to 1 vehicle instead of,
I was hoping, yeah.
there's another 50 left in there.
Okay, and then the vacant positions minus the stipend for Gabe,
Captain.
minus the
Mhm.
IT position,
Mhm.
comes to 511,021.
Okay.
So we're still 5.
And that doesn't include anything from solid waste, cause no one's, I don't know that anybody's committed to that yet, I don't,
Okay.
So we're still 506 something short, huh?
So those are the only 2
We're
things.
506 short.
hold on.
Hang on,
Wait a
John.
second.
She's gonna
Yeah.
give us the real number.
Without any of the solid waste stuff that we went over before lunch, that we're at 1.395 million
Short.
short.
Then take out the solid waste stuff.
Which stuff? We've kind of,
There,
Well, let's start with the easy ones, the carport of 27.5.
The 150, the 700, and then John had another 50.
I think we should leave a little something in there.
We go
and Don't
with-
drain their opportunity contingency down to, take all that. Would be my thoughts.
and what was the 50? That was the,
What was the 50, John?
That was
Didn't they have 50 in there? I think-
cleanup of houses.
the abatement money.
abatement.
Wasn't there 50 in there for distressed properties, property abatement, something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
Are we sure it was 50?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So with the operating contingency, the fencing, the parking cover, and the abatement. $457,353.
Balance.
Hold
Short.
it,
Short.
short, okay. Well, see, so what are you totaling now at solid waste? So 27 and a half, 150, 700, and then 50 more, right?
Yes, the operating contingency is 710,280. The rest are even numbers, so it comes to 937,780. Okay, so now I'm gonna throw a couple more numbers at you. There is a 2% non-union raise in the budget, which equals $46,482.
How much?
46,482.
Okay.
The requested stipend in the surveyor's office
Oh, yeah.
for Desiree was loaded is 8,134.
Okay.
The salary change request for the chief deputy DA and there was another secretary change.
Legal secretary.
And then the one in support and Paul's stipend, taking all of those out is 17,863
Loaded.
loaded.
Okay.
You want me to add all of those in, or?
For this moment, I'd prefer if we take out the surveyor's stipend and the DA's and leave in the 2% non-union COLA for a little bit. I hate to punish our employees that aren't union eligible, which is what it feels like we do when we remove that.
You know, we haven't talked about parks.
John's asked us to leave parks alone for a little while.
But,
Take everything.
But look at here, look at this, construction and acquisition. It was 49 one year, 67 another year, we budgeted 75 this last year, 1920, and we only spent $5,000, and then we're asking for $100,000 this year.
That's to build out Riley with the
Yeah.
more spaces.
Oh, that's what it's
Yeah.
for, well,
And that's, you're working with someone that's gonna get something done.
yeah.
And a lot of that work is scheduled to
That's
happen
what it
now.
was, I
with the
couldn't
Carryover.
remember what it was, I thought,
I'd like to take 15,000 out of legal counsel's contracted services budget.
What's that balance then, roughly?
What is that? He's got enough room for it. He's fully staffed now. If we were going to, it reduces his contracted services to 107, 450, and I'll tell him.
He has to pay De Lorenzo for the wagon road out of that?
He does.
Okay.
I'll text him. I know.
I think we can cut 40,000 out of our 3601.
What is that?
Out of parent services, part-time wages,
Oh, how much, 46?
40,000.
40.
We budgeted 70, this year we've only used 21.
Bless you.
40 out of contracted services?
Is that jail contracted services?
Yes.
Darius, is there any room in your utilities?
No.
When I took what we spent here today, it looked like you had some room, but you say no?
No, there's not. Really,
Okay.
We looked at that,
I could do 5,000 out of
training and travel, and I could do 5,000 out of kitchen.
Commissary?
Well, we could, but we're making money.
Yeah, it's true.
There, yeah.
If you want.
No, no.
Affect revenue.
How much was out of contracted services?
40,000.
40K?
Oh, wow.
Out of the parks contracted services, is that what you said? I'm just kidding, just kidding, John.
Nice try.
Semi-serious.
So are we only doing the 40,000 out of contracted services?
From the gym,
Yeah,
so far.
so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not gonna do the training and travel and kitchen?
It's not up to me.
He was taking 5 and 5 out of those. You can do that.
Kitchen, training,
Megan, what did you factor in for new labor contracts? Did you put a number in for what we might expect?
give me 1 second.
You are still here, never mind. Kidding. It's really not. But you gotta laugh or else you cry. It's gotta be one or the other.
So I'm pretty sure CAD was 2.5.
I don't think they've finished the contract yet.
No, but it's
Oh,
just
you
what
mean
we
the-
factored in.
Okay.
And then AFSCME, I think it's like 50 cents per hour.
And that's 2.5 and 50 cents, that's just the first line, right? That doesn't, you don't add the multiplier to that for sure, I don't think, or do you?
Yeah, you do.
I didn't catch all of that.
The roll-up costs on top of the raise would be there.
Yeah, it's all factored in already.
Well,
Okay.
you know, we always talk about 2.5%, but in the end, it's 5 goddamn percent that our labor costs go up every year. What happened?
Pardon?
Healthcare and retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are those factored into that two? I thought you just said those were all factored into the 2.5%.
No, they're factored into the proposed
The number.
budget. I didn't mean that.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted an actual percent, what it equals, that would take me quite a bit longer.
Okay.
So I know earlier when we were, a couple of days ago, looking at the clerk budget, it was just something that I had written down. But the PERS was 3.1% and the insurance was 2.3% for a total of 5.6% for the benefit package based on what the clerk had on their budget numbers. I don't know if that's relevant throughout, but that's a whole lot closer to what I think the actual wage increases come to every year is 5 or 6%, like John's talking about.
Right, I mean, there's just, yeah, frankly, there's just an increasing cost of doing business every year.
It's pretty hard to absorb increasing costs every year with an income stream that's flat.
I'll agree with you on that.
Thus, we're kind of where we are.
Yes.
Is there any, I guess I'm looking at the 9,900 under settlements. Can any money be taken out of settlements, 9,900?
I don't think there is. Nat is making a pretty strong argument that that's what he thinks we're looking at for the next year based on the tort claim notices we've received and what we
Okay.
know about outstanding liability.
Thank you.
How much is it?
There's 50 in the,
Is that it?
I believe so.
Oh, no, probably not then.
Where we at?
457, somewhere in there. The last official word.
Courthouse windows.
Mikey?
I think he's only got 2 windows in there.
Yeah, I mean, part of the windows is the efficiency, trying to save on our utilities in the future. That's kind of what,
How much was it? I forgot.
There's 10,000 in window door replacement, and there's 10,000 for hot water in the restrooms.
I could give you at least 5 out of the hot water heaters. You know, I know it ain't much, but I have to have hot water for OSHA compliance.
Sure.
You know, this is one of those times when I do feel like sometimes we need to, it's easy to look at like the micro detail, but, you know, one of the ways we could save in maintenance's budget, and something we really need to figure out, is we may have to take on debt to move state courts over, frankly, because, you know, North Bend Annex is a slow bleed that we spend money on every year, and that's without the elevator going out or without having some sort of major issue.
You
But-
run a boiler over there that's
Right.
absolutely not efficient at all.
Yeah, and I know it's not the budget committee's responsibility, but I do like to tell you guys if I think that we may have to take on debt, and we may have to take on debt in order to get rid of that.
When he had money in his budget for extra fencing and just the time to open the building up and close the building down. and
Exactly,
It's,
Yeah.
seems like it's a burden.
right, and at some point, you know, we have to, it's the penny wise and pound foolish thing, you know, we may have to spend some money to get rid of that to save money in the long run. And what we've been looking at is, can we make it pencil out, you know, the amount that he's spending on utilities and all that over there, can we make a payment with that amount of money? Which I think we're getting closer to reaching some conclusion.
Also those 2 lots.
Yeah,
It needs to be able to sold individually. I don't know.
exactly,
Throw it out there.
yeah.
Just an update too, just so you know, is, we were talking earlier about the screening in the jail, I think it was $33,000. Is, our contact with the insurance company said they're not guaranteeing it, but they're saying they've asked, they don't have a commitment yet, but they think there may be up to $10,000 in matching grant money.
Okay.
And looking is, my staff spent lunch time going through here, is, looking at if we could take the, 421-1003 and reduce that by 20,000.
Overtime, I was gonna say, Megan has the numbers memorized, not me.
Well, see, I don't feel bad then, because I have to look at the numbers, 'cause I don't remember.
So you said 421, 1003 for criminal,
Yes.
and you're gonna reduce it?
20,000. And then in 2001 under supplies, reduce that by 2,000.
Say that again, please. Sorry.
2001 supplies,
Mhm.
2,000.
25?
And 22, 27, less than 5,000 equipment. 5,000.
2,000?
5.
But leaving 2,000? Sorry. I said that in my head.
How much did you take out of supplies, Sheriff?
Less than 5,000 equipment, 5,000, and out of supplies was 2,000.
2,000. And was there something before that?
Yes, 20,000 out of overtime for criminal.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna bleed to death over deer, but that's okay. We'll die a little bit of time all at once.
At least we'll all go together.
There you go. Billy Joel did a song about that, didn't he?
Yeah.
I know no one's gonna like this, but Sheriff, what if we went back to 16 hours a day patrol?
That only works if we lay off staff, and then we start running into a second problem.
Which is,
What's this?
Your jail's not gonna be big enough, because it took us a while to get on top of all the property crimes and car thefts that we were dealing with, well, everybody was dealing with in the county. Our property crimes were slowly slipping out of hand.
yeah, I know, but we can't sustain this. We've got some one-time cuts in here. We're continuing to provide services we really can't afford to provide. When are we going to face reality and do something that will hopefully induce people to increase our revenue?
Well, in my opinion, John, you do that by doing the best you can and then tell them, here's what we've done for you, we can do better, we can greatly improve, we're doing. I don't think cutting services and then asking for money afterwards, in my opinion, is the opposite way you wanna go. I think you're more likely to make people angry. And the other part is, just like with this home isolation right now, many people are bothered by it, but they're accepting it and it becomes the new normal.
I don't agree with this, Sheriff. We've been doing that. With all due respect, that's exactly what we've been doing.
But we haven't
And
asked, we'll know in May when we ask
I have
for
no,
radio
let me
funds.
finish. I have no indication that the public is any more interested in giving us enough money to run this county than I had 5 years ago. In spite of the good job we're doing.
Well, I agree we're doing a good job, and I don't know if I don't think we've ever really asked them to put up that money. Would be my point.
Well, you're gonna find out what their answer will be here in about.
I agree. I agree. And I'm comfortable that I think the people are gonna put the money up for a radio system. I just believe they are.
I hope so. I hope so.
So this week you get to be the pessimist and I get to be the optimist. We're going through it here.
We just can't keep bleeding these other departments too. I mean, they've been responsible, they've saved money for things. You add it all up, we're taking out of solid waste. I can't remember what it is for overhead. $333 that they've already put in their budget. And now we've gone back for another $938,000. We can't keep that up. We're fooling ourselves. That money is not always going to be available.
3005, travel and training. We could reduce that $2,000. And 9, yeah.
account is that?
So 1,500.
Investigation, 2220, John.
This,
What?
Got it, okay, thank you.
no, we can't do that. No, no. I was gonna say, eliminate Ray, but that's gonna say he's out in development, so.
2223. Reduce that, $8,058.
It's back to what it was last year.
Thank you.
It'd be 15 to 18. And the one increase is 8. Which line is that?
2223, less than 5,000 for campus technology. Okay, 3506, software license, maintenance. Reduce that by 9,000. One more time through here. $3213, vehicle expense. 10,000, reduce it by 10,000. Oh, excuse me, 3213. And then see what you can get for this watch.
We didn't say no yet.
I know, but I'm gonna wear it until you figure out what you're getting for.
Okay, can I have a minute?
Sure.
I think she's jumping on eBay.
Hmm?
I think she's gonna jump on eBay.
Let's see how much the watch is.
Checking out the watch, right?
Okay, can I just go back through everything you just did in criminal? And I don't think they're in line item order, so I apologize.
What?
I know.
You're unorganized today.
So, vehicle expense, 10,000,
Yes.
less than 5,000 info tech, 8,058. Investigations, 3,300.
Yes.
Software license and maintenance, 9,000.
Yes.
Training and travel, 2,000. overtime, 20,000.
Yes,
Supplies, 2,000.
yes,
Less than 5,000, equipment, 5,000.
yes,
Did I get them all? Okay.
yes, you start out with the big one, she likes big numbers.
But overtime, I need to, there's stuff with it does with that, so.
Did you change it on that one sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be more than,
More than 20.
oh, yes.
Go back with the pen out there.
Last sequence.
I need to go home.
Well, we've talked about this over the years. How many parks can we mothball?
We're not putting anything into those anyway right now, Bob.
All but about 3 or 4 of them are costing rather than income producing. Out of, I don't know how many we have?
About 35.
35, yeah, and all but about, what, 1, 2, maybe 4 or 5 are income producing, the rest of them are all outgo.
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from. I think if we're gonna do something with that, though, I don't know that that's an immediate cost savings this year. I think it's a direction we need to give to parks and have them work that direction, and we'll see savings next year. That's my thought.
I don't think we're putting much money into those other parks anyway right now.
We need to make a concerted effort, though, to determine how much we're spending on those versus what we're getting out of it.
That's what I'm saying, Bob. We're not spending anything on it.
We've got some with a one picnic table and an outhouse. I mean, they go out and mow it a couple times a year, and, you know, it takes
Bob, I
time
don't
and
think we're
money.
even doing that. The guy that used to mow it is in charge of the crews. That was Craig's job.
I know, but we have lots of those.
But we're not doing anything on lots of, in any of those.
Well, they're gonna do an enhancement in Nasika up the Melicoma. We don't even
Yeah.
own that. That's owned by Weyerhaeuser. We lease it.
Because our water is not legal.
Well, that's another reason to not have it anymore, I would think. I know the steelhead fishermen go up there, but I don't believe they're drinking the water. If Weyerhaeuser wanted to keep
Someone's
it open,
drinking
he
something
could.
out there, I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
May not be water.
But we really need a concerted effort to determine what we're gonna keep and what we're not gonna keep when we don't have funds to keep all that up. Something has to go. Or multiple somethings.
So where are we at right now, Megan? Mary used to build it. No, sorry.
Not her. 298,876.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go over what that includes, or are we good?
Bob may need it.
What was that?
I said, I'm good, but Bob may need it, is what I said. Didn't think I'd double down.
Again, I mentioned earlier today about the abuse thing.
Exactly. Positive.
So we're down 300,000.
I increased my stash.
We have, we had a 10% reduction in the commissioner's budget, about 12,000 in personal services.
That was cutting Bobby's pay.
Yeah, I understand that part. What I'm getting at, that's only part of it. That includes the PERS thing too, though, so it'd be less than that. But if we each took a third of that, cut our salaries and kept Bobby, it'd still cut our office by that amount. So we would cut our salary $3,000 or $4,000 somewhere in there.
Oh, you're right,
going on
Yeah,
right
I
now,
know that too.
you're right.
So,
But you can't get, it ain't
But-
floating out of the sky.
And I do get John's point, I mean, we keep taking these,
I know,
all right, these little cuts.
I know.
We're already some of the lowest paid commissioners in the state,
I realize that,
so,
but
I know, I know.
I've been offered 2 more cuts from the jail. Sorry. 10:03, 20,000 overtime, and 20:01, 15,000 supply.
What's that, Uriah? I don't have the number here before me.
10:03, the overtime, 20,000,
Uh-huh,
and supplies, 20:01, 15,000.
thank you.
20:01, 15.
you wanna cut that 15?
15,000 overtime.
And I just confirmed with Nat that he's fine with the 15, that taking the $15,000 cut will not interfere with his ability to continue the litigation schedule that he's on.
So that brings your supplies down to 12,000.
No, 110.
I'm looking at the wrong number.
Fine, Bill.
That's why I was like, what? You really want to cut it? I didn't go far enough. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
so, in order to balance, to go to the full budget committee, we took that amount out of forestry. In addition to the 3.6 already, right?
That amount, what do you mean by that amount?
We took the 2 million out of,
What we were short and balanced, correct?
Yes.
What is in that?
What?
We cut into the average or what?
Yes. You would cut into the 5-year rolling average.
And the 5-year rolling average is how much?
this one is not right.
This year, it's 3.6. But, I mean, if we cut into it, it will be less in future years, not to mention the years that we didn't sell anything, is
So that
gonna
would
make it
be,
less
we would
anyways.
take
Mhm.
roughly, I don't know, calculate in my head here, about 7% out of that to balance?
Seven percent out of,
3.6 million. To balance, to make our 263 that we got left, or 264.
I'm not following.
Bob, foresty's gonna look real puny next year, because we haven't, we've got good years in that rolling 5-year average, and in the last year or two, we're gonna have some bad years rolling into it.
Yeah, I know that.
And if you think this year's is looking tough, what do we do next year when you got $1 million less coming out of forestry, and you can't take 700,000 out of the contingency at solid waste? What are we gonna do? Guess I'm missing something.
No, you're not.
We just can't afford to keep doing all the stuff we're doing.
We're, like we've said all along, though, we're down to bare bones. I mean,
No, we're not.
All the easy stuff
We don't
we've
have to
got
have
it.
dunes patrol. We don't, and no one wants to say no to any of this stuff, but the world isn't gonna go away if we cut that stuff. We're gonna cut it next year anyway, so what the hell?
So is that what you're proposing, John, that we cut dunes?
I don't know, cut something, for Christ's sake. You
So
have to
with
cut
the-
both dunes and marine to get over $200,000 or something out of both of them. I mean, I don't wanna be the badass, but what are we gonna do? And I'm not volunteering to cut my pay.
So what happens if we cut dunes and marine, Sheriff?
Well, we would lose 5 people. And then becomes a problem, we'll have to return the boats. And that limits our access to the boat access only houses in the lake. Also limits our ability to respond to incidents in the dunes, because obviously we won't have most of the access, handy access at the very least to vehicles that can transverse the dune, because our regular vehicles won't go out there. And I think, quite frankly, it will impact, maybe not this year, but coming years, it's gonna start impacting Riley, because the drinking and all that stuff will go back up. And it's not supposed to hurt.
Someone pointed out to me that the money from the general fund that we contribute to dunes and marine, we're getting a pretty good bang for our buck, because a lot of money's coming back through
Yeah, both of those, I
Fees
believe, are
and-
over 60% financed
others.
by the state, or the Marine Board, or the Forest Reserve, so
And you had a good point about tourism, if it's gonna affect,
those are probably the two biggest impacts in tourism that we have.
and cutting 2 or 3 patrol deputies, or 2 or 3 jailers. I don't like any of the options. I'm similar to John, but it's,
Well, you know, I guess part of it is, I fundamentally disagree with the concept that you make people go without, and that'll get you support for financing, because I don't believe that. You run a business, I think you probably understand it even better than I do. Is, you know, if we had to do that, I guess, you know, there's things we could do that we could still at least function within the statute, and I don't feel like I'm abandoning my responsibility to the safety of the public. We could remove an animal shelter control operator, or we could remove an animal control officer. That's gonna make people, they're gonna suffer from that, and I don't know if that will obviously won't get you gold, because you can't eliminate that. I mean, we could have a shelter, we're required to have that, and technically we have an animal enforcement officer. If we had emergency calls, we could close the shelter and leave for a while, they'll respond to that. But I don't know that, you know, that's one of those things that the well-being, health, and safety of the community kind of flies in the face of that.
but that one,
Patrol deputies, as you mentioned, I'll just, you know, we had a shooting in North Bend that we helped with. We had the Spider-Man program the other day, where outside of town, some guy was hanging on in front of the car while an off-duty deputy was following the individual in excess of 80 miles an hour, trying to get them to stop before he flew off the car. We obviously had double homicide down in Bandon. You know, Powers finally has a police chief again, but he's got his hands full because he's still got a lot of short cases to get. And we've had, in my understanding, 3 arson fires out there, so we're trying to assist them. And if we run 2 or 3 people on shift, we're a fat city.
Okay. Let's take a 10-minute break and then come back a little bit, about 2:30.
I'll call back in, Bob.
We're in recess.